Hey guys, it's Sam Geek, and I'm here with my friend Sid.
How you doing?
And today we're going to be talking about how the Colorado shooting is being made a race case by a couple of crazy people that try to, it's the same like Tumblr people who bring white privilege into everything, and that the whites are so overly privileged in comparison to blacks and Latinos and Muslims and stuff, and it's just it's just dumb. Like the Colorado shooting has nothing to do with race, but for an example, Sid linked to me this image on Facebook, and it says, "I massacred innocent men, women, and children in a movie theater, but the media must like me. If I was black, they'd say I was a violent, drug-addicted gang member. If I was Latino, they'd say I was a dangerous, illegal alien who shouldn't have been let gotten into this country. If I was a Muslim, they'd say I was a terrorist, and there were others. And in all three cases, I'd be dead. But I'm white, so they call me a top student who graduated with honors but couldn't find work. I must have been disturbed, bullied, or depressed, and I'm only a suspect for now, and I'm alive."
It's funny to me because me being half black, I have black family members on Facebook and stuff like that who are like sharing this image, and I have black friends that are sharing this image, and it's just like it's really like sickening to me the fact that so ironically, the fact that people, even though we've seen this a fucking thousand times, and then in some cases we haven't seen this, when it needs to be said, facts about the murderer. Like there's times of there's periods of time where there's nothing really going on with the case that the media can report on, other than the fact that he has his cases pending, and they're going over the evidence and seeing what they can prove and what they can't prove about James Holmes, and they still want to make coverage and bring this person to light, the prime suspect of such a horrible crime, and because they stated the obvious facts about him, that he was intelligent and he did well in school, and he was, I believe, majoring neuroscience and stuff like that. The media is being demonized as racist, uh, which makes no sense to me because there's no connection in my brain,
And when
to
was
how that would be.
when was the media demonized for being racist for what they did to George Zimmerman? I think he's responsible. I still think that he murdered Trayvon Martin out of cold blood, and I don't buy the fact that he was just there and he had no choice and that Trayvon beat him up. But whatever, I still think he killed him out of cold blood. But come on, the media was in a fucking hate frenzy towards Trayvon. I mean, MSNBC, when they edited the tape to when the woman asked what ethnicity he was, and it just sounded like he was being racist. Oh, he's black, you know.
Yeah.
And the people didn't even report that he was like half Latino till days and days and days and days after. So people thought he was white, and people still think he's white. People have no
Well, I think
idea.
I think, like, quite frankly, it's really really annoying to me, and it's so infuriating that people blatantly will throw out these double standards, regardless of if it's in any situation in life. But we're talking about this racial issue right now. It's like they'll make assumptions and make statements about white people and quote unquote white media. But when people, make assumptions about black people and black media, or Latino people and Latino media, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing, bud?
Uh,
That's touchy ground. You
well,
can't do that.
well,
And
think.
I feel like minorities are in some sort of, anti-criticism bubble. Um, when it comes to the media, just because there's so much controversy behind making claims about people, because people are so, they're so ready to pull the race card on issues that have nothing to do with race whatsoever. Yet
Well,
people, for some reason, still pull it. And my main thought process behind it, another argument you could make is, the fact that most people who have been accused of being falsely, or having false charges against them, being falsely guilty, have been minorities. You know what I mean? People who make big media coverage stories about people who are like, oh no, he didn't do it. He's wrongfully being put in jail. And I'm not saying that it may be that it's true or that it's not true. I'm just saying that you mainly see that with minorities. I can't remember the last time I've seen a white person being blown up in the media for quote unquote being falsely accused of a crime
Well,
or falsely convicted of a crime.
let's look at something that is recent that got no press, none. You didn't see anyone talking about this. P Diddy on the Black Entertainment Television Awards wore a shirt that said "Obama or Die." Could you imagine if a white person wore a shirt that said "Romney or Die"?
Yeah.
Could you
I mean,
imagine?
I think there's a lot of acceptance
Oh,
to promoting
I
Black
mean,
Power.
look at Jay Z and Kanye West's new album. I like it, and I like some of the messages in it. But there's a whole song called "Murder to Excellence" that was. It's just it's a blatant, and they even consider that they even consider the fact that the white media and that the white people control everything. They say it directly in the album. They compare blacks being somewhat disadvantaged in society to the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that black people do get away with this, and I mean
Yeah.
they do, and Latinos get away with it all the time too. I mean, and only Latinos can have groups that I'm like only minorities can have groups that promote their name in it. I mean, my college has organizations in it called Angry Brown Poets, and the Latino Network, and Latinos for this and Hispanics for that, and it's everywhere. And we're the
Yeah.
majority. We're not even a minority where I live. We're the majority. We're 75%.
No, I mean, I think it's funny that you mentioned that just because like I was thinking that it's mainly just because in almost all parties of oppressed demographics, whether that have been oppressed in the past, for instance, women, blacks, Latinos, um, gays, etc. Atheism is a new thing now as well, obviously, and in the
I
past.
wouldn't even say
Um,
all of them, because
yeah, but,
no,
they all say all that stuff, and they're
like
okay with
but
promoting
let me
power
tell you.
to those demographics. But as soon as
No,
whites, the
let me
one
tell
demographic,
let me tell you
says anything, it's like
let me tell you one demographic who's taken their oppression the proper way and has, organized themselves, empowered themselves without all this, I've been oppressed crap. Asians.
yeah,
Asians have been put in terrible situations. They were trained to kill each other. They were trained to suicide bomb. They were trained to do all this terrible stuff, and they were demonized throughout American history. Kill the Jap, and bomb the Jap.
yeah,
Vietnam, all this shit. You can go back and find propaganda posters where people were literally offering things for how many Japanese soldiers you killed. Like
yeah. Not to
it
mention
was
fucking Hiroshima.
it was absolutely disgusting. And you know what? Do you see Asian pride groups? Do you see Asian entertainment television? Do you see all this shit? No, you don't. You know
I mean,
why?
there's obviously Asian teenagers and stuff like that that promote Asian pride, but it's a very very small
It's a
demographic in
so
comparison to blacks and Latinos.
there are not organizations that make money off that.
Yeah,
It's disgusting that black entertainment television kind of exists. It's
yeah,
kind of disgusting that Al Sharpton makes his entire living off tearing down other cultures to promote Black Power. It's
yeah.
disgusting.
It is disgusting. I hate that other demographics are allowed to say gay pride or black pride or Latino pride, but as soon as whites if they say either white power or white pride, like everybody would, it would like the whole world would stop. You know what I mean?
And
And it has nothing to do when it's so hypocritical for people to say oh gays are people too, black people are people too, Latinos are people too, and stuff like that, and they're freaking out about being oppressed and wanting to be recognized as individuals and human beings as well, but the white people are being pushed to the side completely.
one thing I also have against these advocacy groups is that Yeah, they I think that they almost make themselves look radical and to the point of stupidity on purpose because let's be honest, if there was actual equality, if there was actual gay equality, if there was actual black equality, these people would be out of jobs. They wouldn't have they have an incentive to keep oppression on.
Yeah.
There's an incentive behind that. If they didn't, they would be working a lot harder towards actually getting real repeals done and stop getting things like I know a lot of Black Power associations promote welfare, and they
Yeah.
promote social and they promote reparations, which I think all of those things are actually holding minorities back. I mean, how many minorities do you know, Sid? I know a lot of minorities who are addicted to welfare. They're addicted to welfare. They can't ever see themselves off of it.
Well, I know minorities, closely that are on welfare. Some some by choice, and some just because they've been on it for so long and stuff like that. And there's some areas where Section 8 housing, they actually, there's I guess there's a misconception about Section 8 housing, that you're instantly going to be in the slums, and then the PJs just completely fucking just oppressed and stuck in the ghetto, and the white man's holding you down, and you're not going to be able to do anything with your life because you're on welfare. But there's a lot of Section 8 housing programs that put people in really nice neighborhoods and really nice houses. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, one person who says this the best and who has the most documented evidence against the welfare state and against how welfare actually holds back blacks is Star Parker. If anyone ever looks up Star Parker, she's done several documentaries about how she used to be on welfare. She used to be a prostitute, and she used to be all the stereotypical, stuff when it comes to just ghetto culture, and she explained how she got out of it. She puts a lot of religious and preachy stuff in there that I don't agree with, but she also explains how welfare did hold her back, and how the government encourages you to stay on welfare, which they do, and how
Yeah.
they encourage you to get more money, which they do, and they tell you ways to get more money, and people make living off telling you how to stay on welfare for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I think that there's too much over promotion of the welfare system to underprivileged neighborhoods, and it's not doing anything but regressing those areas,
What
rather
people
than progressing. And it's just like there's a lot of advocates, such as, for one being Al Sharpton, who claim oppression, and this is just in the black demographic. They claim oppression, and they claim the fact that there needs to be change, and all these different things, all these different things, when in almost all fucking walks of life, we live in a completely, I guess everybody has equal opportunities aside from, where you're born. Um, we live in an era of that, when there's not really anything being done to, I guess give progress to minorities, specifically. I'm speaking about blacks and their neighborhoods. Like, there's no programs for furthering black education. There's no programs for increasing the well being of the neighborhoods. There's no programs for getting rid of gangs. At least on a large scale. Like, there's nothing that's.
well
I mean, there's things that are being done, but nothing that's made a
as
difference.
someone who was very into gang culture as a child and knows a lot about the gang scene, and I also know how the anti-gang stuff works. I wouldn't say that there's not a lot of anti-gang stuff. I just don't think it's done properly, and they kind of speak down to you like children. And I mean, it's not the fact that anti-gang stuff doesn't exist. It's the fact that it's not effective because they speak to you like children. They honestly do.
No, no, no. And I didn't mean to come off the wrong way, as in like, oh, there's nothing being done whatsoever. I just mean that effectively, there's nothing being done. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's really working at this point. That we need to rethink, um, our I guess our attack plan when it comes to eradicating gangs and when it comes to eradicating extremely poverty stricken
Well, the
neighborhoods.
major issue that people don't realize and people don't want to admit and people don't want to talk about is that when you subsidize something, you get more of it. And what people don't understand about welfare is that it should be a safety net and not something you live on. Because the more money you give these people, the more money that is in the market for these people, the more they're going to want to stay on it. Because it's now better than a minimum wage job. You
Yeah,
can live off welfare. And a lot of liberals hate people saying that, but it's true. You can live off welfare. I know people
it's
who live off welfare. I
yeah,
know
I agree. No, I
several
think
people.
it's the same thing as the saying, you teach somebody how to fish, or you're not teaching somebody how to fish, and you're
You get
constantly
no
giving them food,
you
right?
no no no. It's
Um, and then as
no
soon
no
as
no
you
no
cut
no.
off their
Here we
fucking
go. Here we go.
line
Here we go.
of food, they don't know what the fuck to do. You know what I
You
mean?
give a man a fish. You feed him for a day. You feed a man a fish. You feed him for a lifetime.
No, 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 I know. I
That's
was
all.
referring to that, but I was altering it in a way, that was still, factual. But I'm just saying that you give these people a constant force, right? If somebody's constantly giving you a supply of things, why should you go out of your way to try and get off of that? It's like, oh, somebody's giving me free money. Somebody's giving me free money, giving me free food. Why should I, when I'm living so comfortably, get off my ass and do something with my life? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one major thing that people overlook or try not to think about is the fact that oh, look at slavery. What's slavery? What defines slavery? Someone who works for nothing and gets free living in return. And what a lot of people don't realize is that people become so dependent on these programs, they'll vote for any politician that promotes them, and it's almost like slavery. Because
Yeah.
these people are living for free, but they'll only vote for politicians that promote the hell out of these programs and give them more money, and it's kind of disgusting how people take that and use that to advantage in political power, and it's disgusting. It really is, and
Welfare should be, and I believe was intended to be, a failsafe for human beings.
it is, and
And it needs to be a failsafe and only a failsafe, because it makes sense. Obviously, there should be less homeless people. There should be people who literally just have no other assets and they need the help of the government to stay off the streets, and that's completely fucking okay. I'm completely for that. My issue is the fact that there's people that are exploiting the benefits that they're getting, especially, for instance, women who have children, to be on welfare, to have a constant supply of money
oh,
and not have to work and
but
just take
but
care of their kids and stuff like that. And sometimes not
according
even take
to
care of their kids, just have
according
a kid to get on welfare, and just very parasitic individuals, regardless of what demographic they come from. Whites, blacks, Latinos, whatever you're doing, or whatever you are, and you're on welfare. It doesn't, it's not really any different per
but
race. It's just
but
people on welfare.
Sid, according to a lot of my liberal friends, that those people don't exist and that they're such a small minority of people that they shouldn't even be talked about. I'm
Well,
sorry, but that's not true at all. I'm sorry,
it's
it's
it's a
not.
joke. It's the same
It's a
as
joke.
fucking liberal feminists saying that rape is the biggest problem to ever grace the fucking face of the earth, and that's number one. Human issue is rape. That's the biggest problem that we could ever stumble upon, is somebody being raped. Because there's not
Rape is an
third world
issue.
countries that are
Ra-
fucking completely starving to death, and children being fucking killed every
rape,
fucking day across the world and stuff like that. And then, the rape is the biggest issue. That's why I don't. That's why I don't consider people's opinions like that. You know what I mean?
rape is an issue. I
I'm
can
not saying that
understand.
it's
No,
not
no,
an issue.
no, 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 no. Let me finish. Rape is an issue, but there are a lot of other issues in the world that need to be talked about also, and then
Yeah,
people don't understand that, and people try to focus like the point of the Colorado shooting. Getting back on subject,
yeah.
shouldn't be that he's white. The point of the Colorado shooting should be the fact that he killed 20 people or 12 people or some an insane amount of people. He injured 70.
Yeah.
70 people are injured and have their lives totally shooken because of this asshole. And that's what it should be about.
Not about race. It
It
has
should,
nothing to do with the color of
nothing.
his skin. It has
Nothing.
nothing to do with with where he
And
came from
and what
or what
pisses
his background is,
what pisses me off.
intellect wise or fucking I guess domestic wise. It has to do with the fact that this psychopath ran in and he killed a bunch of people and he injured a bunch of people, and it's a very unfortunate event, and it sickens me that people are actually trying to make this a racial issue when it has nothing to do with it.
And
And
it,
if you try and make this a racial issue, you're a fucking moron,
and
like straight up.
what makes no sense is that the Virginia Tech shootings were by an Asian person.
Yeah.
You never saw these posters when it was an Asian person because that would be stupid, right? It would be dumb. Asian people are also are a minority, and they are kind of protected by what did you call it? The bubble of the
Anti-criticism.
bubble of anti-criticism, and Asians are under that. And
Yeah.
he would never be no one would ever criticize them for being biased towards Asians, but because
Yeah.
this guy's white, he's criticized.
Yeah.
And like I said, like we were talking about earlier in an earlier recording before we got rudely interrupted, was the fact that there are a lot of black and Latino gang members who are serial killers that aren't reported on because of fear of people's families, because of the mob mentality they have over these people and over the media, and people don't want to report about it for their own safety. And I totally understand that. But the fact is that a lot of people overlook that. And as someone who, both me and you live in gang infested areas and gang culture, we know this goes on. It happens
Yeah.
every day. Tons of people die for no reason every day. Black on black crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime. It happens. It happens.
Even Asian on Asian crime. There's an immense amount of Asian gangs where I'm fucking from.
Oh yeah, but
Like
we don't talk about those. They don't exist. A lot of people pretend those don't exist, and there's also a lot of white gangs people pretend don't exist either. And that's a real race issue that people don't bring up. Is that gangs are often painted as this Latino and black thing when they're not just Latino and black. There's gangs for everyone.
I just say it's just like going back to that serial killer issue. It's just like I guarantee that every gang or mob, even though they're the same thing, but I put mob on a higher level than just a normal gang. Mob or gang hitmen are almost all serial killers at this point, and they're almost never caught, and it's rare for and whenever the mob hitmen are caught, they're plastered as a serial killer, not a mob hitman and serial killer blank has been apprehended and proven and charged for 37 murders or whatever, and it's very rare to see that.
And let's be honest here. If you really want to talk about liberals being biased towards whites, I mean not liberals, I mean the media being biased towards whites. Let's look at the media, how the media treats gangs. What's more romanticized than The Godfather or The Mob, or I see the Mob Wives as a reality show. Really, Mob Wives, and that. Fox has this new show called The Mob Doctor coming out. The Sopranos was huge and it was romanticized and people were feeling for the characters. You can honestly never tell me that you'd ever see like MS-13 wives and blood. I mean, you could kind of argue for the fact that in the 90s, black gangs were somewhat romanticized with rap music, and the Bloods and Crips were romanticized with stuff like Friday and all that stuff. But it was not to the extent and to the cultural bias that the mobs have been, and that and even Yakuzas, like in Asian media, you've seen there's video games called Yakuza, and you see Yakuzas like held up. The fact is that you'd never see this for MS-13. Ever. You wouldn't see that. And it's a real, I think that gangs shouldn't even be romanticized because they're not glamorous. It's a really shitty way of life. And I think that actually promotes people to join gangs, to be honest. And I think I understand the point of it, and I understand it's entertainment, but I honestly believe that it's a very glamorized, romanticized view of how horrible those things actually are.
Yeah.
And I don't want them banned or censored or anything like that. I don't want people to think that. I just personally am kind of disturbed by it. I just think that it's a bit weird that we romanticize Mob Wives as a reality show.
Yeah, I just think because the mob in general is such a huge crime family, and there's different segregated crime families, obviously, but the mob is it's on such a bigger scale than just normal gangs, just because they've been around for so long, and I guess it's part of like that whole like when you think of 1920s and 1940s and stuff like that, you think of the very classy dressed fucking mob bosses and shit like that with a cigar in their mouth, and like a lot of people are infatuated by that. And just because that was part of the lifestyle back in the day.
Exactly.
Um,
And MS-13 is bigger than the mob. But the reason you don't hear about it and all that stuff is because it's not a pretty picture like the mob. It's not dressed up, cigar smoking, martini drinking mob people. It's, the reality of the situation is that it's murder and beheadings and drug
yeah.
dealing and stuff that the mob, like the mob was. I don't know how to say it. Like they appear more classy, even though they're really not.
Well, it's part of American history. The mob families are, as much as we want to, disagree with it. It is a very big part of American history, especially in the 20th century.
Yeah, and the whole problem is that I think that a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of white shaming that does go on and white uh, criticism that goes on for no real reason.
Well, I just think I just think that's in general. I think whites are pretty much the only demographic right now that are out of that anti-criticism bubble. They're just open for fire, from all aspects of life.
Well, and
And
and Christians too.
yeah,
Christians in general are also up there, and Republicans, and pretty
right,
much anything outside of anything that's considered traditional culture is up for criticism. Pretty much,
yeah,
it seems like.
yeah,
And I think that it doesn't matter. This case wasn't about that. It's about a psychopath.
yeah.
And you really shouldn't be focusing on that, and you really shouldn't even be talking about that. It's dumb. And the only way we can kill racism is if we kill race. The idea of race is stupid. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
race does exist, and I can acknowledge that. Oh my god. Well, we should
it's
just.
fine.
All right. Anyways, I don't really think there's more we could say on this issue. So, Samuel out.